Hi, I'm Sharon,
And I'm Julie.
and welcome to Jen Zoomer's Real Talk on just about anything. This is our first episode of 2021, and cheers to you, Julie. Woo! 2021, better than 2020. Let's hope. And we wanted to kick it off with these two dynamic women, Vanessa Ford and Danielle Jacobs, co-founders of Menolabs. Menolabs is a health company dedicated to helping women through menopause. We thought this would be a great subject to start the year out. Their ongoing research and solutions we thought would benefit all of us.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I couldn't make this show, which is one show. Well, I talk about menopause all the time. So I just think that they have some really great things to say and a lot of learnings, and both of us use their product.
These two women are all over menopause. So welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
We're so excited to have you. Let's just start by giving us a little background on you.
Absolutely. Well, I'll kick it off because I happen to be the person who's actually the closest to menopause here. I'm 48 now. When I was 44, I had a period that lasted for 3 weeks. And I didn't know that that was normal when you're going into perimenopause. I didn't even know that perimenopause was a thing. I'd never heard the word before. And I was having some mood swings that were just ridiculous. And I didn't even make that connection until much further into my menopause journey. But I went to my doctor and I said, hey, I think I have cancer, because I did a bunch of Googling, right? And when you Google things, you think you have cancer.
Oh, no.
And she said, this is normal. You need to calm down. You don't have cancer. You're approaching menopause. And she explained to me what was happening, because we don't talk about, well, I mean, women my age anyway, didn't talk about this stuff with their mothers. I'm very open with my daughter. It's sort of taboo in our society, right? We don't talk about our periods. We don't talk about menopause. So I didn't really know what was happening to me. And that's the thing that clued me in, was a 3-week period. And it was frightening, and I didn't have any answers.
I completely relate to that. I had what was called dysfunctional bleeding. It happened when I turned 40. And I had fibroids. And I wish there was more information out there at the time, because I opted in for a hysterectomy. Fortunately, my doctor had the foresight to keep my ovaries. Oh, I am so glad. But I wish at that point there was more information. So this is a godsend. It is time for women to talk about this subject.
So Danielle and I have been friends for over 20 years at this point. And when I was talking to Danielle about what I was going through, I told her there's no research. We have the same doctor as well. So that was nice, right? We both knew that our doctor was not going to let us down when it came to this. And we both knew that if our doctor's female, and she's fantastic, but if our doctor didn't quite know what was going on in our body, there was a whole lot of room for improvement in this process. Right. And so when we put our heads together, I would say that we're both very driven individuals, Danielle and I, and when we see a problem that needs to be solved, we're going to solve it. So it made real sense to us. We saw a definite need, and we believe we can help fix it.
Well, let me just do a little plug here. I'm on my second day of this probiotic. I really like it. And I had the most vivid dreams last night. And I said to myself, gee, I wonder if that has to do with this probiotic.
I was actually reading a book recently about dreams during the pandemic and how they're becoming so much more vivid, and people are dreaming about things that they haven't thought of in years and years and years, since childhood even. And it's more due to the fact that we're not going out and getting new experiences right now, right? Yeah. We're not out and engaging in the world like we're programmed to do. So our brains are looking for anything to latch on to. And so they're going back through our memory banks and pulling them forward because they need to keep themselves busy. And we're not giving them anything to do.
This was full Technicolor, let me tell you. What about you, Danielle?
So I am definitely in perimenopause. I'm 40 years old. It was one of those things that when Vanessa and I started talking about, I didn't even realize I was in perimenopause. And the more research we've done, the more understanding we've gained, or I've gained, around menopause. I'm definitely in perimenopause. And, I think that's one of our big things too, is we've always wanted to change the discussion and help women understand that it's a topic that needs to be discussed. And we need to talk about it with our mothers, with our daughters, with our aunts, with our coworkers, with our bosses. We need to stop being afraid to talk about it because it's so impactful on our lives. And there's all kinds of ranges of severity of symptoms. And, one of the biggest ones is women not fully understanding perimenopause also. They don't understand that. So, there's a big misconception about the understanding of actually what menopause is. And because we don't talk to, our mothers didn't talk to us at least about menopause. They didn't explain what was happening. They hid it just like, we hide a tampon when we go to the restroom for our period. That we don't know what's going on. And so it was a scenario just like Vanessa had, where you're completely lost and, you Google something and what does the internet tell you? You have cancer. And that's not the case. So I am in perimenopause currently. So
Woohoo! Welcome. I'm way through all that. But I commiserate. Okay, so why don't we define the cycles? Who wants to take this?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and talk to that. Again, just like I was talking about perimenopause in myself, women don't understand that it actually starts about as early as 35 for most women, and that's the average age that perimenopause starts. And that's not including women that actually have early onset menopause. Their perimenopause can start actually even earlier than that. And perimenopause is really when the transition begins. And the reason I think women don't identify that they are in perimenopause is because it doesn't necessarily start with those typical triggers that our knowledge of menopause says we're in menopause. So the loss of periods, hot flashes, those very common ones that we hear about that, oh yeah, if I have a hot flash, I must be in menopause. No, it starts with mood swings. It starts with weight gain. And what do we always say in our 30s and going into our 40s? Oh, I just must be getting older. Well, yes, but it's perimenopause. That's why it's happening. So we don't necessarily identify those early onset symptoms as being a part of menopause. We just chalk it up to getting older. So a lot of women don't realize that there's things out there like our probiotics that can actually help them through perimenopause as well, to help with those mood swings, to help not gain the weight as you're going through menopause and those hormonal fluctuations. So then we go into menopause. Menopause is technically defined as the 12 months, you have to have no period for 12 months. And that is officially, you're in menopause now. If you have had no period for 12 months or longer, you're still going to be having the full range of symptoms. This is usually when women are going to have the most severe symptoms, is during this time. Hot flashes are going to be pretty severe, night sweats, mood swings. The weight gain might get even worse during this time. A lot of those symptoms, that's the bulk of it. That's really when they hit their extreme levels. And that average woman is about 51 that happens. And then you have postmenopause, and postmenopause is technically that 2 to 3 years after that 12-month period happens. So you have your menopause, no period for 12 months, then you're in full-blown menopause, and then you're 2 to 3 years after that, that's when you're technically in postmenopause. And I hate putting timelines on it. I know we think in timelines, but it's really postmenopause is when you start seeing your symptoms subside. And every woman's menopause journey is completely different.
Right.
The average length of menopause from perimenopause, menopause, and until you hit postmenopause, you're looking at anywhere from a 5 to 12 years average. So that's saying that some women it's 5, some women it's 10, some 7, some 12, some longer, some shorter.
Right.
And there's a lot of different things that kind of play into that. They are linking some of that is hereditary. So if you talk to your mother and find out, what age she was when she went into menopause, you can usually get a rough idea for about when you might go into menopause. They're definitely seeing some links and correlations that if your mother had early onset menopause, that you'll most likely have early onset menopause. But there's also some things that you can do to take care of your body, to change, how your body is affected through menopause and the timing of which that happens. So that's your typical menopause journey. Of course, there are some outlying factors such as early menopause and surgically induced menopause.
Which I had.
Yep.
Except I did get, and this is where what's interesting, I did have night sweats. I still had a little mood swings. I never had weight gain. Maybe that was because I did not have a uterus any longer. Does it linger? Have you heard women even say it can linger on? You'll have a symptom and you can't explain what it is. And you think, oh, it's my age. Well, yes, of course, it correlates with age, but it correlates with your hormones.
Yes. And that's the biggest thing. I think that we chalk it all up to age when really it's a hormonal fluctuation within our bodies, even into postmenopause. And yes, there are symptoms that linger. Hot flashes and vaginal dryness are some of the most common symptoms that linger into postmenopause for years into postmenopause. Vaginal dryness, if you're experiencing that and that's one of your symptoms that you're having issues with or severity with, postmenopause is technically for the rest of your life, so that you can struggle with that for the rest of your life. Our scientific doctor, our researcher and other co-founder, Dr. John Konhilas, he's been studying menopause for 20 years, and he says there's no such thing as postmenopause. Yes, your symptoms actually do subside, a lot of them, and they may decrease and you won't have them as extremely or whatever, but he says postmenopause is just a thing that we label it with, and really your body is in menopause from the time you stop having periods for the rest of your life. So.
Okay, let's talk about hot flashes. Why does it happen? I mean, what can trigger them, and what solutions do you offer for reducing their frequency?
What we need to recognize is that it's the most commonly reported symptom because it's the most obvious one, right? We have mood swings just associated with regular periods. We have weight gain associated with lots of different things that happen in our lifetime. Hot flashes are unique to the menopausal experience. And so that's the thing that clues women in most often, hot flashes and night sweats. For me, it was, I had night sweats. I've never had a hot flash, knock on wood, but I had some pretty bad night sweats. And they're essentially the same thing. It's just what time of day did they happen? So that's the thing that clues us in. And what's going on in your body is that the estrogen fluctuations, right? As we start to lose estrogen in our body, all of these hormones are fluctuating. The estrogen's going up and coming down, going up and coming down. And it impacts your hypothalamus. And that's the area of the brain that regulates things like appetite control, things like, aphasia is another.
Oh, that's all right. And that'll go,
FYI.
that's gonna go away. I can guarantee you that. You're in a fog.
Yeah.
It does go away.
It does go away.
It did for me. Not yesterday. I was trying to remember a word, but it does. It does.
But it does things like regulate your mood swings, right? Your emotional response. And it also regulates your temperature control, your body's ability to control its temperature and keep it on an even keel. So anytime that the hypothalamus is interrupted from doing its work, it's going to cause all of those related symptoms. And like I said, hot flashes are the thing that clue most women in that they're entering this part of their life. So we think that they're common. They are. I suspect that they are just as common as the other things we experience. We just don't notice or chalk them up to menopause because we've had them for so long. And like Danielle was saying, you can start having perimenopausal symptoms when you're 35, right? The weight gain, the insomnia, the mood swings, and you don't think anything of it. But when you have your first hot flash, you think
Then
something of it, right? It's really uncomfortable.
The bell goes
So-
off. Yeah.
And
Clues us in.
night sweats too. Night sweats too. I mean, we're finding that more women try to find solutions for night sweats because maybe they've, tried to figure out a way to solve their hot flash during the day. But when it disrupts your sleep,
Right.
it disrupts so much more in your life when your sleep's disrupted.
What I've read, even from some of the documents you've generated, which I appreciate, those are great. And I've actually dived into some of the reviews. Are those considered like peer reviews?
So what we do is we write up blog articles based on the latest research, and that research, those links are provided to us by our research team headed up by Dr. John Konhilas. And then we have a fantastic writer on staff who sort of takes all of that research, wades through it, and breaks it down into layman's terms, into really easily digested pieces of information.
And that's appreciated,
So
by the way.
it depends on where the research comes out of, right? But
Right.
what we try to focus on is peer-reviewed clinical studies.
Okay.
That is what we try to keep our research focused on. Now, that's difficult to do because menopause is a significantly under-researched topic. Our research partner, Dr. John Konhilas, it really frustrates him because the NIH doesn't have a category for menopause research for funding. And whenever you do a menopausal or women's health research study, you must include men in your study. And he just thinks that is just the absolute
No, we're
wrong way to go
different.
about it.
No, that's not right.
I know. So
Well, you guys are going to be changing that, right?
absolutely we are.
From the research that you have provided, I understand you can experience up to 40 different kinds of symptoms. And the headliners that we all know about, which we are talking about, are hot flashes, weight gain, mood swings, insomnia. Those seem to be
Exactly.
the big ones.
Right. And the things that women don't realize are related are stronger body odor. So you may
yes.
notice that your body odor it's not funky or different, but it's stronger.
It's
definitely.
riper.
Right, exactly. Well, so are we, right?
Yes, that's right. We're ripening, right? Okay.
And things like dry eyes and your allergies can become increasingly severe with menopause. There's just so much going on in your body that's all directly tied back into how you process estrogen. And when you don't have the estrogen anymore, it really does a number on you. So yeah, at least 40 symptoms that we know are identified with menopause.
I would point out too is heart disease. And this one we have been really trying to push forward because it's not one that women think of when you think of heart disease, heart attacks, that kind of thing. If you were to ask, does it happen more to men or women? Most people are going to respond to men, and it's actually women. And the reason that women suffer from those heart attacks are because of the changes that happen within menopause. Your chances for a heart attack after menopause increase by over 50%. And that has been one of the big research focuses that that Dr. John Konhilas has been looking at. And the probiotics that we include in our supplements have been found to reduce the impact if you were to receive a heart attack while these probiotics are in your system. So
Wow.
we really are trying to help women even when they're not thinking about it. That's a big thing. We have, over 28 ingredients, 26 to 28 ingredients in our probiotic supplement formulations. And we're really trying to look at this from a whole perspective on a myriad of different symptoms that we can help women with that they may not even be thinking about or think that they need, because we want to save your life. Even if it's not something that you are necessarily thinking of or know that you need to do.
Tell me how your product, the probiotic, how is it reducing the frequency of some of these symptoms?
It's all about estrogen fluctuation, right? What we've discovered with certain strains of probiotic, and what you'll see in our formulations we have about 3 to 4 different strains of probiotic, depending on which probiotic you're taking. And all of those probiotics have different properties that can help reconjugate estrogen. So this is a really interesting, cool fact about women's bodies. So we start to decrease our estrogen levels, but our body wants to hang on to our estrogen because it's a vital component, right? And so it takes that estrogen and stores it in our fat cells. So of course we get weight gain because our body's trying to hang on to that estrogen, right? And it has to have fat cells to store it in. Now, what's really interesting about probiotics is they can help do a process that's called estrogen deconjugation. So basically what it does is it takes that stored estrogen, recycles it, pushes it back into the system so that your estrogen that you already have in your body can be reused again. And, it goes through, normally estrogen gets passed out in your waste, right? But instead, you've got these probiotics working in your gut microbiome. They're going to help recycle instead of passing it out or storing it in fat. And that's the key. That's the critical component. Now,
it's
that
one of the biggest things too to help level it off, right? So we're focusing on these, reducing these spikes, which is what's happening as you're going through menopause, is these huge spikes of estrogen. And so that's one of the big things. And being able to recycle this estrogen then allows it to be put back into the system to help you level out.
Right. And it can take 60 to 90 days for a probiotic to really start impacting your system in that way. So what we have also in our products is phytoestrogens, right? They're plant-based estrogens that work just like an estrogen in your body would, and they help level off those right away. So when you take a probiotic from Menolabs, we also have those herbal supplements. And what's going on is you're taking this, and over the next week or so, you'll notice some women report symptoms decreasing in as little as 48 hours. But generally for the average woman, in about a week, she notices that her hot flashes have gone down. Her mood swings are balancing out because we're using those phytoestrogens to attack the estrogen fluctuation and even it out right away. And then we're using those probiotics to come in, help recycle the estrogen you already have, and do all of those other critical things like help balance your weight gain, help rebalance the moisture levels in your body, help with your heart protection, help with osteoporosis, all of these other things that we don't even talk about because they're not sexy selling points, right? But that we know are important for women to have. And so we just put them in our formulas.
That's awesome. And you guys are just right on time here because gut information, microbiome information that's coming out now, and it's like it's our second brain.
It is.
Or
Yes,
if it
it
even
is your second
controls our
brain.
brain. Yes. It's fascinating. How about mood swings and erratic sleep or insomnia? They're common issues during menopause. And how does that all work with your product? How does that address some of this maybe?
Well, we've actually found that if you can decrease your night sweats, your insomnia might be a little bit better. But we've also found that women have real issues. Their brains work fundamentally differently than men when it comes to sleep. And so a man will, like my husband, he will go to bed, we'll lay down, and 2 minutes later, he's sawing logs, right?
Mine's 30 seconds.
And it drives me nuts.
Mine's the same.
But we'll all lay there, right, for 30, 40 minutes thinking about, okay, what didn't get done today? What's got to get done tomorrow? What relationship didn't get paid attention to today? There's so much that's going on in our brains. We have this really difficult time turning our brains off. And then we have a difficult time keeping them shut off, right? You'll go through one REM cycle, you'll wake up wide awake, thinking about the thing you went to sleep thinking about. And then of course, in the morning, you feel terrible, you're groggy, you didn't sleep. Right. So we really did some delving into what's going on in a woman's brain and figuring out how we can help that. So we came up with a new product. It's called Well Rested by Menolabs. It's a sleep aid, and it's got 7 different ingredients in it. So women are typically really low on magnesium. So we put magnesium in there, and that's going to be really critical to help you turn your brain off. And then we have all of these sort of time-released ingredients that throughout the night start releasing in your stomach and populating through your body so that you stay asleep. It's unlike anything that's on the market because we really took a deep look at what's going on in your brain, specifically a woman's brain. And we've had men report that this works really great for them too. And that's wonderful if you're a man with insomnia, right? But this is a product geared toward women with insomnia. And I've been an insomniac since I was in my early 20s. When we started monkeying around with the formula, Danielle and I like to use ourselves as guinea pigs. And since I've been trying the formula that's in Well Rested, I have slept like a baby.
I think you might convince me because I have intermittent sleep cycles. I call it shifts. I sleep in shifts. Unlike you, I can fall asleep pretty quickly, but I push myself to that point where I'm just tired. So, or I'll read before I go to sleep. I do shut my phone down every night. No more
And you
phone.
should, absolutely.
Yes. And, but 4 hours is solid, then I'm up. And usually it happens, your bladder wakes you up. I have to go. So there you go. But then I do have an older dog, and sometimes he gets me up. And I let my husband sleep because he takes care of that part during the day. He's the one, so I manage that. But sometimes I don't get back to sleep for 2 hours. So I start counting. Okay, well, I had 3 hours of sleep. Okay, good. If I lay awake 2 hours, oh, I can get 4 hours in. That'll be 7. That'll be good. So I may just try your product. I think I'm going to try that. I mean, it doesn't mean that won't get interrupted during the night, but falling back to sleep is an issue.
Yes.
Right.
I call myself a light sleeper for that reason. Like if my husband gets up in the middle of the night to go to the restroom, whatever the case is, he lays down and again, he's out like in 30 seconds. If I hear it enough, I'm up. I'm like, and then I'm starting to literally, I sometimes sing myself. Like, you come up with all these crazy things to be able to get yourself to go back to sleep. And yeah, that one's a big problem for me. I can't get woke up in the middle of the night or else I'm up for hours.
Just a really quick story. Before I started talking to Danielle about this company, I was friends with a woman online who was telling me that she was going through some mood swings and she was pretty sure she was headed toward divorce, right? She was yelling at her kids. She was yelling at her husband. This was not like her at all. And she started taking our product about 6 months ago. And in, what is it, it's January? So about 3 weeks now, they just renewed their wedding vows. I mean,
okay, well, if you need a boost, if you need a Kickstarter in your marriage, then perhaps you should take a pill.
I mean, it really, she chalks it up to us. I chalk it up to her being able to take this product, but also being willing to do some hard work and be honest with herself, right? But, sometimes you do need an assist from a supplement just so that you can feel like you got back on even keel so you can do the rest of the work, right? Well, the same thing with weight gain. If you're lethargic and you have no energy because you're not sleeping and your hypothalamus is all out of whack and you're gaining weight anyway, if you can get something that helps you address your baseline so that now you can go out and you can exercise because you have energy and you don't have the cravings anymore, that goes a long way toward addressing your overall health, right?
Right.
And our biggest thing too is an all natural way. So there's, there are other things out there. And, when you go to a doctor to talk about your menopause symptoms, they usually tell you two things, HRT and antidepressants. And both Vanessa and I believe that there is other solutions out there. And if you have to go to, that route and that's what works for you, then, I totally understand that. But from a personal perspective, I wanted something all natural as I was going to do that transition. I didn't want to increase my chances of cancer.
I'm with you on that. I've never done HRT, and it was really due to the huge women's health study that was done way back. And no one's disproved that. And I just went, no, I'll fly through this without HRT. Right.
But you know what? There should be better options for women.
There
It
should
shouldn't
be.
be HRT or suffer in silence.
Right.
Right. And that's what really kind of got us angry. Really, it got us angry because my doctor, our female doctor was saying, well, HRT, but you have a history of breast cancer in your family. So we really want to think about this long and hard before you say yes. And there was no way I was going to say yes to that. And I didn't have another option except to suffer. And that was not acceptable.
What about vaginal dryness, loss of libido? Are you two doing any research into that?
Absolutely. So when your estrogen depletes, it all comes right back to estrogen, right? So if you can help even out your estrogen, then you're going to go a long way toward this. But when your estrogen depletes, it starts causing less blood flow to the vagina. So of course your vaginal dryness is going to increase. That impacts your libido, right? Yeah. But a lot of other things about your estrogen fluctuation decrease libido as well. Those mood swings, the weight gain, the drop in self-esteem, these things, they're
the loss of energy.
The loss of energy, it's all related.
Same husband? Sorry, I had to throw that in. No, I'm kidding. I have a great marriage.
So we actually have a product called Menoglow that has 2 different strains of probiotic in it. One is Lactobacillus paracasei. The other is Lactobacillus acidophilus. And those are both moisture restoring bacteria. They're going to help your body do the processes.
I ordered the right product. Oh,
yeah, excellent.
Ladies, I've got it.
So it's going to address things like hot flashes because we knew we needed to address hot flashes across all of our probiotics. But this one is designed specifically to help your body address the loss of moisture.
Great. Okay, so wow, we've just flown through this, but let me just say that your all natural manifesto extends to your product packaging. I just want everybody to see this. It's beautiful packaging. I love that how it came. Low impact on the environment.
That's right.
It sounds like you had that in mind.
We did.
Just wonderful. Just wonderful.
Yep. And you get to see our beautiful goddess there. We definitely have, each product has a different goddess that goes along with it. And Vanessa and I really, believe that you should be the heroine of your journey, of your menopause journey, and be your own goddess, through that and take control of it. So that's kind of our underlying little goddess theme there. But
I love it. I love it. We all need our goddesses. As we are goddesses.
Yes, we all are.
So tell us about your Menolife app you developed.
Yeah, so we have an app, Menolife, and it has a couple different parts to it now. One is which has a community aspect. So what we found is a lot of women feel alone as they go through menopause. They don't know who to talk to. They don't know how to talk to them. They are afraid to talk to them. It's embarrassing. You have all these different questions and concerns. So one of the biggest things on our that we started with was our community side of our app to not only bring information to women. So we do bring a lot of our research and articles and stuff onto the app regularly throughout all the time throughout the week. So we bring a lot of information, a lot of topics. We've created a lot of topics on there to invoke discussion and to invoke thought around menopause, because a lot of women might be going through menopause and they might be having a hot flash or 2 or night sweats, but they don't realize that their mood swings are also attached to it. And so being able to read some articles and some specific discussions around that topic might actually enlighten them and open their eyes to realizing why that might be happening for them. I know Vanessa had her own stories around mood swings and stuff as she was going into menopause, not realizing why she was being so snappy or whatever the case was. And once you're informed, And that's our big thing, is informing women. Then you can actually understand what's going on with you. So the secondary part of things for us is the health tracker to help you understand what's going on with you and your body. And also because menopause is not a one size fits all. Everyone's journey is completely different. There are women that will have hot flashes extremely to 15 to 20 times a day, to women that will not have hot flashes at all. There's women that are going to gain 50 pounds in a year for weight gain. There's going to be women that don't gain any at all. There's going to be women that have severe mood swings where it's affecting their family, their relationships. And then you're going to have women that really, it's kind of like going through PMS on your normal period and you've figured out how to deal with it. So there's a lot of different things at play. And so being able to track what's going on with your body is one of the things in our health tracker that we have really focused on. So our health tracker is built for women going through menopause primarily. You can track your periods, you can track the inconsistencies in your periods, you can track an array of different symptoms. You can track them if they're happening 20 times a day, so that you can really gain some insight. The other part of that is, what are your triggers? What are things that are maybe causing this to happen? Are you eating a ton of spicy foods, and every time you do that, that triggers a hot flash?
Right.
But we also, not only do we want you to help yourself with maybe our supplements or taking any supplement, is that helping you? Is that, are you able to see a decrease in these things because of the supplement you're taking? But if I stopped eating spicy food, will it stop triggering hot flashes? If I stop in taking alcohol as much as I've been doing, is that going to help me? So it helps you track those different things to see what's going on. There are a couple other apps out there that help you track symptoms, but they don't give you good insight into what you're tracking. So we've really also focused on the insights, the reporting, so you can see trends, so you can, also see how does that compare to other people, other women going through this.
Right.
It sounds hugely beneficial. It sounds hugely beneficial.
It's beneficial in one other way too that I'd like to touch on really quickly. So what we're doing with this is it is already IRB approved, and HIPAA compliant.
What IRB means?
Sure. It's a research process that basically means you've taken into consideration the way it will impact the person undergoing the study, and you have taken steps to mitigate the impact. Okay. Right? So it's IRB approved, it's HIPAA compliant, it's all de-identified, which means that whatever you enter into the app is never tied to who you are. But what we can do now, and what we've already done, quite frankly, is it is the largest cohort of women in midlife ever studied, ever, in the history of research. So already, and that's really exciting for us. So we wanted to give women a way to show that if they're taking our supplements, show that it's working. If they're not taking our supplements, that's fine. They can still use the app for free. You do not have to be a customer. But the other thing was, we knew we had a research problem, and how are we going to solve it? And it's clear that the medical community is not catching up quickly enough. So we just decided to solve it ourselves.
I think that's marvelous. Wow. Again, bravo, ladies. Go, girls. Gosh, it takes a woman.
It really does.
Yeah. This has been a most fascinating conversation, and I am so grateful. Julie is so grateful. I want to thank you very, very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. I learned a lot. This is like breakthrough stuff. I think probiotic is going to be like the next miracle. And I think the 35-year-olds are going to be surprised.
Yeah, and maybe even some of your 45-year-olds, right? Because until you have a hot flash, you really don't understand what's going on in your body.
So true. That is so true. Thank you for joining us. And you've got a friend in me.
Thank you, Sharon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.